Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Today's video is going to be a good one. It's 5 ways that we believe that we are seeing control coming on free people. Now, with these crises, it allows certain people to have control over the common folks, which are us. So today we're going to be talking about ways that you need to be paying attention to 5 certain details that are going on in our world today that can impact you, but not only impact you, it can make you be controlled just a little bit more. Be careful, watch for your freedom. Today's video starts right now.
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know.
Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Today is going to be a great video. As I said in the intro, if you're new to the Max, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Tell us what you think about this video and also give us a thumbs up or thumbs down based on what you think. But we do ask you to watch the whole video through. A lot of times we'll have people comment and really miss out on the second part of the video. So please try to watch the video all the way through and give us your thoughts on the video, because your comments can help people make wise decisions for themselves. So let's jump right into it. However you want to stipulate it, if it be the global society or government, it's a way that they can control us. Number 1 is going to be housing. Housing market is looking to sit on a bubble right now. The real estate market, since the recession has started, has kind of declined and is falling into a recession itself. Because of that, I'm gonna give you 2 keys, and this will relate to the second point. Look at rental property. Rental property as a whole has went up. We're about 7 to 10% over last year's pricing from June to June or July to July, summer to summer basically. Not only that, it's up about another 7 to 10% from the year prior, or even in 2019 prior to the pandemic. So now we're seeing some of your costs for rent. If you were used to paying $500 or $600, you're probably paying anywhere from $800 to $900. If you're used to paying $800, you're probably now paying $1,100 to $1,200. That is a major part of your budget, and because of that, it allows you to be a little less discretionary with some of your other income and put your focus on shelter, because shelter is so important. So on the rental side, the rental prices are going up and they're not helping you be able to control your dollar. The whole point of renting is to the whole point of renting before the global elitists saw it as an important way to manipulate you was for a temporary time. You were to rent until you saved money to then purchase or fulfill the American dream by buying a house and starting a mortgage and really putting yourself in a good spot for your retirement. Remember, a house is a very big part of your asset pool as you get older. So by controlling you to stay in rental property, by charging you more and not allowing you to really save money to then get to the next level of buying a house, that's a big part of this key for real estate. It's gonna harm your budget, but also put you in a point where you are dependent on the person who is giving you the lease or the rent, and you're really fattening their pockets. Now, the second point to that, housing market is on a major bubble. I know individuals in our areas that are building houses. Well, when we built a house, people were spending anywhere from, if you were doing a lock and key build, you were spending anywhere from $100 to $110 per square foot. That was for a lock and key. People like us who did a lot of contracting, did a lot of the work ourselves, we were closer to the $40 to $60 per square foot of building our houses. That means we built instant equity into our homes and had a great amount of money built up in collateral in the home that we were building. Well, now what we're seeing the fact that people are spending anywhere from $150 to $200 per square foot on a new build in rural areas like ours, and some words upwards of $200 to $300 a square foot or more, depending on some of the amenities that you're putting in your homes. Now the problem there is those houses are not worth the value in the areas they're building. For instance, we used to own a property in East Tennessee. Now some of you older homestead watchers of my channel, you knew that property sold for double the value, actually almost triple the value of what the real estate was actually worth in that area. Why? Because number 2's point, which is coming up, and we'll talk about that in a second, but because of that, you're seeing the manipulation of the housing market where houses are costing more. They're inflated not because they're worth it, but it's because the market is turning it that way. So therefore your rent has to go up. Therefore you can't afford the house that you're wanting. If bigger entities are buying the properties and the inflated cost is going up, where you're going to have a lot more cash and not just your mortgage, you won't be able to buy a house. Not only that, because you're paying so high in rent, you're not having discretionary income or ways to budget and save more to buy that house. So, number one, housing issues. Pay attention to it, because if the bubble busts, it's going to cause even more of an economic crisis. As I referenced in number one. Number two is you're starting to see a major pullout and correction of the stock market. Now, we've all seen that. That's what's put us in a recession. Here's the kicker though. If more of your bigger businesses, more of your wealthier Americans and wealthier groups and financial institutions are pulling a lot of their money out, what are they doing? They're putting it somewhere else. So it's causing a correction in the market, because our market is so manipulative based on bigger business, bigger money asset pools that are in the market. Well, if they start pulling that out and going to other means, the correction to the market for the normal American society who has got retirement built in there, who's got all these savings built in there, it will tank the market, which will cause issues for your portfolios and your financial retirement plans. Now, here's the key though. Where are they putting their money? We saw last week, or really this past few days, the Vatican pulling a lot of their funds and putting it back in Vatican. You're starting to see a lot of these elitists put their money back in their countries. You see China, a lot of Chinese people are getting out of the American market. You see local American companies pulling out of the market and going to a liquid asset, a cash, or into real estate, which is causing number one issues. If we see companies like BlackRock or pull a lot of those funds out and then turn around and invest into real estate like BlackRock is doing and a lot of these bigger companies are doing, they can overpay for the house. It allows for the average American not to buy the house, which makes for more rental real estate and then the manipulated price, because they can manipulate the market. Your main rural areas are not as affected as your city. So your city rent is a whole lot more, because why? You're seeing more people buy those apartment buildings, or you're seeing more people invest in those suburbs and suburban homes to where you're renting for a higher price, which will cause your problems again to not have money, which is number one for buying a house, but number two, not to invest. And then where do you put your money when you invest? Because the market is correcting and you're starting to see these big guys pull out of the market and manipulate other assets of your life, which will control you, like the housing market. Number three is a biggie. It is energy prices. Now, energy prices is huge, and we know that. We see energy going up. Gas, petroleum at the pump is gone crazy, but that's not actually what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the energy, the grid. We're wanting to put more on the grid. The grid is very sensitive. We've talked about it in other videos. Your lights, your utilities, all that is affected by the energy prices. If we're paying more for fuel, we're paying more for natural gas, we're paying more for whatever X, whatever X is, it's gonna cost you more. For instance, if money is already tight, like we talked about with number one, with housing and rental. Number two, our retirements and some of our discretionary income maybe in the stock market has went down. Number three, we really need it to be affordable. Well, if energy is not affordable, then what do? It can get very scary very quickly, because you may not can afford your energy payments. 1 out of 5 is at a reality that their lights could be cut off next month. 40% of a lot of the people that are lower income and middle income are behind at least by 1 month with their energy bills. If it costs more to have the energy, you're already behind because of all the other prices that you're incurring. What's to say that you're going to be able to get back on top of that? And what's to say that it's going to go up in the winter when the colder months come? So you need to be preparing for the energy crisis that is here right now. For instance, they're pushed for electric vehicles. Now let's think about that. In Europe right now, electric vehicles, to charge your electric vehicle, which is supposed to be free, you're not going to buy gas anymore, is $35 to $50 per charge if you're not charging at your home. Now the kilowatts costs go up, so therefore if you're charging at your home and you're charging during the times that they tell you not to charge because your kilowatts cost more per hour, per day, then all of a sudden your cost for energy will go up more, because you're dependent on the grid to now charge your car. So just because you're buying an electric car and you think, well, we're overpaying for the car, but ultimately it's going to save me on gas. No, it's not, because it's going to cost you to use the grid too. Don't be manipulated that way. For instance, energy costs across Europe and Germany and some of those areas are up 25%, and it will skyrocket, especially when it comes close to winter. Now in America, we're seeing it up around 10%. So that is going to affect your bottom line. Pay attention to the energy crisis, just like we talked about with the housing and with some of the stock market issues. It will affect you and will affect your bottom line for them to control you even more. All this is a plan to get you to a last point of what we'll talk about in just a second. Number 4 is one that we press and have been pushing forever. It's food, the manipulation of food. We're in a food shortage no matter what you say. Look across the world. India has now stopped. It's made it illegal to export a lot of their wheats and grains because they know they need it. China is stockpiling and buying from all these other areas. Now, we talked about BRICS in the last videos. When those companies are working together, they're solidifying a lot of those foods and a lot of those assets from each other to make sure they are keeping a strong area there. Remember, the manipulation of currency also depends on the manipulation of food and grains. And because you're not stockpiling food, you're gonna pay more for food. And here's the kicker. Food is getting substituted for more junk in your food. Food has tripled in price worldwide. Now we see countries withholding their food exports, which is making a shortage. We're now seeing the prices of the goods that we have, the foods that we have, go up triple in price. So have you seen the thing that we have had for the last 4 numbers? We've seen an incline in price on all these. So when people say, oh, inflation is not affecting me, or you know, the politics don't affect me, yes it does. You just don't see it because ultimately it's not affecting you from Washington DC as much as it's affecting your bottom line, your pocket. So food. Now here's another thing. FDA has now allowed a lot of companies to manipulate their ingredients to add more stuff, more crap to your food without getting relicensing and also without changing ingredients. So those quality oils that you may have had some foods now are hydrogenated, or they're more chemicalized oils. So some of the fats that we naturally had, or some of the natural elements of the food process that you're eating, when you're eating processed food, you're eating more chemicalized and in-made items that go into your processed food. So now you're having a health issue because you are now eating more crap in your diet versus true food in your diet. Have you ever looked at the ingredients in the long list of things that you're putting in your body, which now causes, we've seen allergy issues, we've seen diabetes, we've seen heart disease. Those things are not caused by, well, the world's getting a little different. No, it's because of the junk that we're putting in our bodies. Food is one of the biggest manipulations of time, other than energy, food. More than shelter, money, and energy, which is what we've already talked about. Food is more manipulative because people know they have to have it to live. You can have a bad shelter, you can go from house to house, you can miss out on an energy bill. You don't have to have a ton of money because we feel like you know, we can make it and survive, but you can't make it without food. And they know that, and that's how they can control you. Look at the diets of the people in the early 1900s and how they didn't see the health issues we've seen. It's the food. Number 5 is making you dependent on the government. It's making you a nanny state because you can't afford your energy, you can't afford your housing, because you can't afford your food, and you see that your dollar is falling. What are they going to do? They're going to support you. Government is going to come in and say, well, here, we're going to pay off your student loans for you, we're going to give you food, we're going to make sure that you have some kind of government housing. But in return, we're going to do and say what we need to make sure that you know that you have to kind of follow our guidance and our rules. So therefore, we're starting to see a currency issue where dollars are not as important anymore. They're showing more of a centralized dollar coming, which is a digital currency. Well, guess what? That means they'll know everything you do, not just the things they already know. If you have a digital currency, there's no such thing as cash and paying for something and no one knowing about it. They'll know everything about it because it's their record system, and it will come back to them, and they'll know everything about you. Think of what BRICS and the WEF is pushing. They are both pushing to destroy the currency and destroy the environment that we're typically in America as we know it, because they want the freedoms taken away from us. It is a stakeholder, fascistic, socialist climate that they're trying to get to. Don't you see it? It is literally destroying us. And because of that, they're taking our freedoms. Henry Kissinger, who was a scary man, and here's the sad thing. You do know who studied under Henry Kissinger, who was one of his students. Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab is over the World Economic Forum. That's a little crazy. Henry Kissinger said, control the oil, or control the energy, control the nation, control the food, control the people. If they can manipulate every part of your life, they can control you. Your freedoms are now gone. It's intentional, guys. Everything that's going on is intentional. Just gain wisdom, find out what really is happening in our world. Another quote, who I don't know if I trust this guy as much either, is kind of like Henry Kissinger, but Noam Chomsky said, I'm gonna quote, "Pointed out in both old and new world orders, the central goal has pivoted around the issue of control. Controlling the population is the major task of any state that is dominated by particular sectors or domestic societies. Therefore, functions primarily are their interests." The more that we realize that control of the people is taking away our freedoms, the more that we'll wake up. So guys, hope you enjoy this video. Watch for these 5 things. We see energy issues, we see housing issues, we see stock market or money issues, we see food issues, and all of a sudden now we see government control. Don't be scared to stand up, gain wisdom, find peace, and ultimately know the hope is in God himself through Jesus Christ, his son. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe to our channel as it helps us grow and get our word out. Thank you for coming. God bless. Happy homesteading.
I won't